You are listening to In Studio from Simply Timeless. I'm Jay Daniels. This week we bring you an In Studio Extra featuring a recent interview with vocalist and curator Michael Feinstein. He spoke with me recently about his lifelong affinity for music and its relevance during this time of quarantine. Mr. Feinstein also talks about some of his own streaming endeavors in partnership with Carnegie Hall and the Great American Songbook Foundation. We begin the conversation with this question. Why is this music so important to you?
These songs have been part of my life since my birth, or before my birth. I think my parents were singing them to me when I was in the womb, and my heart at a very early age, before I had any intellectual capacity to appreciate the lyrics or even the harmonies of the music, there was just a connection, a visceral connection to the songs that has stayed with me my entire life. So why it connects with me, I can only tell you that there is something in the DNA of this music that deeply connects with my soul.
And that's evident through some of your recordings, both from the past and the present. One of the first I heard of yours was, I think, a 1987 recording from an album called Remember, where you paid tribute to the works of Irving Berlin. And I just love the delivery and the reverence given to these songs. And it seems that time and time again, we keep coming back to these songs, these standards. And right now, especially, I think people appreciate a sense of familiarity, something that they can connect with. With what you said in mind, how do you believe those songs are relevant to our current season here in 2020?
I believe they are relevant in the same way that Shakespeare is relevant, or Da Vinci, or any timeless art. I believe these songs transcend the time in which they were created, and they have connection with contemporary audiences because they speak fundamental truth. We will always have romance, and we will always have the desire for human connection, and these songs strengthen that. And so I feel that they are comforting because they connect us to hearts. And what many people are finding in this extraordinary time is that we are all experiencing time to turn inward. And as we do that, as we connect to our feelings, as we connect to our souls, we find that it needs to be feeded by the beauty of what is essential. And to me, music is essential. And I think that this music simply connects with us. If to go one step further, the physical vibration of sound, of music, it's a physical vibration that is the same vibration that molecules and atoms are made of. So we literally sympathetically vibrate with a musical tone because it is made of the same substance. And so our bodies resonate with music, and that creates transformation.
You often hear people say, that song or that performance touched me. So when you put it in the terms of sound and vibrations, it would literally mean there is some sort of literal touch through that. Why then is it critical that we, not only as artists, but also radio hosts and listeners, why should we continue sharing this music today?
Well, my grandmother would say, why not? Well, simply because there's a desire for it. I say a desire. Young people that don't even know the music, when they hear it, they connect with it. One of the things that's fascinating, there was a statistic that I read yesterday that said that the consumption of media online, as people are spending a lot of time surfing on the net, is increasing for classic artists. And they gave the example of Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong's music is trending, and it's not Billie Eilish. The point they were making is that people are turning to this music because it creates a connection and a satisfaction, and it's transformative. Music is the only art that can heal. There's physiological, there's sound healing, there's music therapy. I mean, what music does on so many levels is extraordinary. The work that I've done with people with dementia and Alzheimer's, and then the way children respond to it, the way animals respond to it. So there's all of that. And then with the Great American Songbook there are the words. So there's the left brain and the right brain being engaged harmoniously.
I find it interesting that you brought up those special people who, have had their struggles with dementia and Alzheimer's. I did not realize the effect that music has, especially familiar sing-along songs. There is a community in New Rochelle, New York, that I had been playing for regularly until about March. It's called Willow Towers. And this is for people with late-stage Alzheimer's and dementia. And they were almost unresponsive, not even knowing where they were, what their name was, and yet they could sing every word to Irving Berlin's Always, without fail, every time. And you, even in this time where we're not able to be with others, where we're not able to be in a shared space together to share music, you are still finding means through which to share your musical gifts. Just earlier this week, you partnered with Carnegie Hall for a Live with Carnegie Hall video stream where you were highlighting the music of George Gershwin. Tell us about the ways that you might have had to adjust. Instead of being in front of a live audience in the same space, now it's a virtual screening with that audience.
Yes. And of course, the number of people who are connecting that way is extraordinary, and people are absolutely loving it. Not to name drop, but I was speaking to Julie Andrews today, and she was talking about how she had loved watching a performance of Stravinsky's Firebird. I think it was the New York Phil that had been live streamed. She was talking about the Sondheim a birthday celebration that was live streamed. So people are adjusting and finding this, now really looking at it as another medium, really taking it as legitimizing it, I would say, in that it is now considered a means of entertainment that is not just going on YouTube for 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And so for all artists, it's finding the way to use it to reach people. And it is very different because it is solitary in execution for the most part, and one is looking into a little iPhone or a little Mac device, and one has to imagine that they are in front of an audience, or at least I do, to create the sense of connection. So there is a certain sort of psychological fakery that's required to achieve the result for me. And I think in terms of the visual of what people are seeing. I'll hold up things, share memorabilia. I mean, it's a different consideration. There are different considerations, but of course, the at its essence, it is the same because it's how people feel you. It's how it's the feeling that you get from the whole experience. And years ago, I helped to create the Great American Songbook Foundation, and we have been streaming bits of master classes that I've done with high school kids that for the annual Songbook Academy that we've held for a number of years. So we've been taking these educational moments that I don't even remember in some cases, where our staff has been going through and polling clips and sharing them, and it's absolutely wonderful because there's a lot of young people out there who are seeing these moments from the masterclass from the Great American Songbook Foundation and are learning. They're learning about interpreting the songs. So it's discovery. And I'm always mindful that there will be somebody watching to whom all of this is new. So that means that my responsibility is to do the best I can to present it in a way that I hope they'll like it.
And being one that is in his early 30s, I'm always delighted to see people younger than I am, their late teens, early 20s, falling in love with this music again. And it really is a genre, speaking of songbook and the standards, it really is a genre that spans the generation. And we talked about how the songbook specifically connects so deeply with you, but in a more general way, I do have one final question, and it can be a bit broad, but I would like to ask it nonetheless. Why music?
Because it's the thing that has given me purpose on this planet. Music is why I'm here. There's no question about that. I was born with the ability to make music. I literally sat down to play the piano when I was 5 years old, and yet I'd actually played it before then. My parents had an old upright in the basement of the house where I first inhabited, where I was born, and I used to bang on the piano and then started playing it, and so I know that I came here to make music. So I don't have a better answer than that, because it just has always been the thing that I know that I have to do. And 95% of the time I embrace it, and sometimes I resist it. But even the times when I resist it, if I'm performing, I get on stage, and the minute I'm there, it's all good. So it's the greatest blessing.
Michael Feinstein, our in-studio guest this week from Simply Timeless. Be sure and follow Michael on social media to receive the latest information on his streaming concerts. You may also visit his website, that address michaelfeinstein.com. Special thanks to Michael for taking the time to join us, and a special thanks to you also for listening. Until we meet again, I'm Jay Daniels, and this is In Studio from Simply Timeless.